Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 12 of Tank Talk. I am James Starr, aka Relics, and of course with me today is the one and only Kirill Bondar, aka Soviet, the
Hey
man.
guys, привет всем.
So we don't have Mr. Nagatron today. He thinks he's doing something more important, so I had to suffer and bring Soviet in this time. But yeah, he's got a lot of really good stuff for us today. He's been working hard on some stuff, which is why we're like 20 minutes late. You can see his makeup looks nice, so he's all set at this point. And the main topics we have today, we're looking at talking a little bit about Nvidia because we had some big matches there. Just take a look at the brackets, see how that's going. There's not a lot of other news going on with that, so after that, we'll just jump straight into 8.6. We've been playing in it for 3 days now, and we've got a lot of experiences with it. We've been doing a bunch of practices with several teams, so we've gotten some experience with exactly how it's interacting with that. Yeah, we'll go through a lot of that. So let's go ahead and start out with Nvidia. So we had the last matches for the winners bracket for I think 2 weeks. I think the 13th is the first match that we have coming up again. What have you thought about the bracket so far? You've been having fun playing through this all?
I think the lower part of the bracket has definitely been quite challenging. River of Blood was in our portion. Cazadores, I think, was also there. So we played some good teams, and we were lucky enough to continue on. Uh, Simp also was in our lower half of the bracket, and we did come up against Simp just recently this past Monday. The top bracket portion. Also some good matchups, but I think I still heard that there's teams that were not showing up even after the group stage, and
Oh
now
wow.
yeah, and after the whole if you've been forfeited twice, you're out of the tournament.
Hmm.
Still. Some teams were not showing up to the playoffs. Maybe some of them were forgetting about it. I don't know. There was a little bit of a break right before the playoffs began. So
And
some
I
teams
also
maybe.
heard about some teams that skipped out on some matches for WGLNA, so maybe some of that was it too.
Yeah,
People deciding
true.
that that was more important.
True, and well, I guess I mean both tournaments are quite up there in terms of importance, in my opinion. Um, well, our matchup on Monday was quite glorious, and perhaps you and Nagatron will be covering that
Yeah,
in the future.
yeah, for what the matches we have left, I believe we have two matches out of there we're going to be casting, and that one's going to be a really big match. I think it was just such a close fight between us and Semp, and it seems like no matter what, we always end up facing Semp at some point. Um, they seem like they're always nail biters. So I think they'll be pretty fun to cast. Both of us were pretty, I think, nervous going into it. So you could kind of see in our play was a little bit slower than usual.
Yeah.
But that's you can see that in any team when they're coming up against their big opponent, things kind of slow down a little bit more compared to what they're usually more comfortable with.
Right. Well, I thought overall we as a team we were in good shape because we've had so much practice lately. We stayed on top of our game.
Hmm.
The only thing about those matches, and I'm sure, well, we won't provide any spoilers here, but uh, just a little bit of respect for each other. I think both teams are respecting each other,
Hmm.
and that kind of turned the various
Yeah,
tides in the game.
yeah.
But great games. I look forward to seeing your work.
Hmm.
I think I'll
It,
mute the
it,
commentary because I'm that,
yeah, yeah.
of course.
Are you trying
But
to say David doesn't sound good now? You have a problem with Nagatron?
I'll have like you remember the World Cup for soccer? They had the Vuvuzela muters, like they would just mute automatically.
Certain people.
I'll run like the algorithm and they'll just mute.
Nice.
Uh,
I appreciate it. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
no
we'll
problem.
we'll be running those casts so everybody knows. We're not exactly official on dates and times yet, but the first cast is all are going to be either the first or second week in July, kind of leading up through the finals and everything else going on. So definitely be looking for that. We're working hard on trying to make them as visually appealing as possible, and hopefully our casting will be able to match it too. Let's take a look at the brackets because we do have some battles for Nvidia going on in like 30 minutes now for the losers bracket. So I figured we just take a look at the bracket right now, see kind of where everybody's falling, who's fighting what coming up here. So let me switch over to that. So first of all, we were talking about the winners bracket here. So we did fight Semp with extremely close fights, and now we're facing up against Hammer Time from the top bracket. So that'll be it for the winners bracket. And that fight doesn't happen, you can see, until the 13th. So right now, everything that's resolving is this lower bracket here, where we have the big fights going on right now. I believe just this one. What's the first? Is that next Monday? That's next Monday, right?
No, it's today, 6/27.
July 1st though is next Monday.
Oh, yeah, July 1st, yes.
Okay. So today we have actually a lot of fights going on. You can see Gorillas and Kung Fu. Kung Fu we've seen a lot of good stuff out of. Gorillas having some really good matches against Mot 4 and such earlier on. So that should be a pretty good battle. We also have Termodemonic against Simplistic. River of Blood, who everybody I know has been following a heck a lot from the qualifiers. They were one of the favorites in there, versus Muscle and Glasses, and then we have Bernal Empires against Mot 4, another big team. So we have a lot of really good matches in this lower bracket here, and then coming next Monday, we'll see whoever results out of that, and then obviously we'll have the big guys Simp facing whoever it is from River Blood. Muscles and Glasses, Bernal Empire, Mot 4, and then we have Face Chosen at the top, who's actually been surprising a lot of people. Face Chosen's been doing really good throughout the Nvidia bracket, so I'll be very interested to see how this ends up once we get to the lower bracket 7, which is on the 11th, which is 2 Mondays from now.
Yeah, there will be a break, as you see there, for 4th of July. Falls on a Thursday, so no matches that day.
Yep.
Uh, but I tell you what, man, that losers bracket, whoever comes out of that losers bracket is going to be quite an opponent, and
Mm-hmm.
I certainly look forward to it. It's going to be quite an interesting ramp up of activity, though. Right in 11th of July, WGLNA starts,
Mm-hmm.
and then 13th of July, I'm sure we'll have both Nvidia fights, and then WGLNA probably in the evening for Saturday. So
Yeah.
quite interesting, quite abrupt. Like we have a break right now. It's been nice, kind of like a 2 week little vacation,
Yeah.
but now we certainly have to prepare. And you, sir, oof,
Yeah. We'll get
I
into
don't
that.
know.
We'll get into that. So yeah, like you said, in July is going to be really big. We got WGLNA, we got Nvidia coming up. There's also a few other big tournaments that aren't necessarily going to involve us, but that are coming up pretty soon. So keep your eye out. I'll try to make sure we get the news on here to let everybody know what's going on. But there are some other really big things that even Mr. Soviet might not know about.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
There's stuff
Well,
going on.
stuff going on behind the scenes, huh? Well, one thing I wanted to point out is to everybody who's watching us or listens to us, please definitely check out the Open League registration. I think it's ending either uh, today or like tomorrow. So
Yeah.
Open League and Minor League and Major League, they're reshuffling. There's a lot of reshuffling going on because of the WGLNA teams that went into, the league. So I know that a lot of teams that qualified for WGLNA were the teams that were supposed to be in the majors, and that kind of screwed up a lot of the spots there. So
Hmm.
there's going to be a lot of reshuffling in that league, but definitely the best way to get into this format, get into the pro scene or the esports scene of World of Tanks. You start with Open League and you build yourself up as a team, and in 2-3 seasons you're at the top.
Yep. And even the Open League teams, a lot of them are really excited just playing in the format, it being kind of an official thing. I was talking a little bit yesterday to Ciliaris, who happens to be in the chat room, and they're all very excited going through the Open League and fighting these other teams, and I mean, it's a lot of fun through everything. So definitely check it out. Get yourselves teams together. If you need to find players, you need to start a team or anything, they have the forums. You can jump on there. A lot of people do read those. Yeah, definitely get into this. It's good stuff.
And it's something we absolutely didn't have before, so it's much easier now. There's absolutely no excuse to say, "Oh my God," I see a lot of, I crawl the forums every now and then, and it's a lot of players are coming up with excuses that are just silly. It's the game is very accessible. It's not like a pro sport where you have to be 8 feet tall. And if you're not, well, too bad. There's no way in, right? Or you have to bench a fire truck. If you don't bench a fire truck, too bad. You're not getting in.
It's a good thing
Uh,
because you're only like 4 feet tall. So
there's okay. Uh, in esports, I think that's one of the biggest, like the best thing about it is it's very accessible. All
Hmm.
you need is right in front of you, computer, and off you go. Playing the game, getting better, getting friends, and making a team. And it's much easier than some people make it out to be.
And all the tactics and strategies and all the stuff you can learn, you can go right online and see like our tournaments and see what we did, and you can learn like a lot of the tactics and strategies that'll carry you through this stuff. So I mean, it's only as much as you want to put into this, as much as you enjoy watching everything.
Yeah,
So
remember the team? I think I forget the name. We faced them in the qualifiers for the 15th anniversary tournament, and they're like, "Oh man, after we played you guys, we copied your
yeah,
lineup, and
yeah.
we beat everybody." And it's like, yeah, well, there you go. Sometimes it's as easy as that. Of course, once you get into a tougher competition, it becomes a little bit more than just that.
Hmm.
But definitely a lot of it more, lot more accessibility to it with all these streams and videos and recordings.
Yep, exactly. All right, well, let's go ahead and get off tournaments. Lots of exciting stuff going in. I'm so happy to be a part of the esports scene at this point with all this stuff going on. So it's good. It's all
Wow,
good. Yeah,
Relics is a happy guy.
I'm a happy guy. This
We'll
is a
have to
smiley
fix that.
face. Yeah. Oh, don't worry. I'm sure as soon as I see you in a tournament somewhere, it'll all go away and I'll be upset again.
Yeah.
All right, let's actually go to something else that might upset me a little bit. Let's talk about 8.6 a little bit. So 8.6 launched on Tuesday. We've had a lot of tournament practices, like I said. We've been playing a lot into it. You've probably seen Soviet doing some streaming lately in his various heavy tanks. I think he tried some tier 10s out and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and jump into first of all, let's talk about accuracy on these tanks. Um, I don't know about you, but I for one have noticed that accuracy is like gone crazy up. I'm seeing like snapshots everywhere landing. Even myself, like with terrible lag, I don't feel like I have as much of a problem at all hitting stuff. What has been your experiences so far?
Yeah.
that
Mr. Soviet doesn't miss that often.
that often.
Now he just doesn't miss at all.
Yeah.
So
This is
that's how
this is
it
a win
is.
for you getting all those sniper medals.
Yeah, well, it's been great. I played. I think the very first tank I played on the live server was the T-34, just because it was kind of late at night and the patch downloaded. I clicked go. That was after the game, or right before practices. We didn't have much time, so I was like, T-34, whatever. And that T-34, man, that shoots a lot better than before. And
Really?
that's one of the tanks that you definitely notice the accuracy being far improved. I was sniping hatches of tanks in a T-34. That's something you could never do. You would always go for center of mass usually with that gun,
Yeah.
but yeah, much you can feel that accuracy improvement on that tank, and of course TDs are just laser sharp. You can shoot on the move with some of them, and pretty much hit the exact spot you're aiming at. So very nice change overall. It's going to introduce a little bit more skill play, in my opinion. Take away the RNG factors of it,
Hmm.
and introduce more how good you are at pre-aiming spots, how good you are at predicting where the enemy is going to be, predicting the weak spots of the tank as they present themselves to you. And if you guys watch, well, my stream at least, I try to show you, well, I don't emphasize it, but if you pay attention right where I aim, sorry, it's usually the spot that I'm expecting the enemy to be showing up in, and that gives me a lot better a lot of better timing, and a lot better accuracy to place that snapshot and that possibly hide or well react to the situation. So very important now to
Yeah.
pre-aim and to know the weak spots of your tanks.
Yeah, definitely. So the other kind of controversial portion of that is tanks on the move are a lot more accurate now. I'm not sure if that's for better or for worse because it seems like you don't necessarily need to like all stop to be able to make shots anymore. What are your thoughts on like the 1390 or the WZ132 being so accurate on the move now?
It's going to introduce faster gameplay, and I think that's what they were kind of going for anyway, right? With if you think about the changes that have been happening in the game. Ground resistance, for example, we can't really confirm that or deny it, right? But
Hmm.
there's something going on with ground resistance. Tanks are a little bit quicker, a little less traction. There seems to be, um, well, they get up to speed quicker. Um, the WZ-132 you mentioned, nice little tank now, can dogfight a lot better than before.
Hmm.
Uh, the 1390, the accuracy is good, but you still kind of have to slow down and shoot, and you can't just, well, unless you're point blank, unless you're really dogfighting it,
Right.
the 1390 still requires that little slowing down, which is actually why I like that tank so much, is because in order to be good in it, you have to not just, be good at twitching, let's say, but you have to really recognize the situation, know where and when to stop, to take a shot, and to take off again. So 1390 still a challenging tank to play. WZ-132. I'm not sure if we'll see a lot of them. Perhaps we'll see a lot of them in tournaments, but
Yeah.
at this point, I think we didn't have enough, to really say either way.
Definitive. But what do you think about like the 5100? I mean, one of the big drawbacks of the 5100 is the settle time that you'd have to do for taking shots. Have you played that at all in pubs?
Yeah,
I don't know if we played it in practice with you in it, but
yeah.
um,
Well, I think I ran out on Ensk.
yeah.
It's definitely good. Definitely nice. Snapshots much easier.
Hmm.
I was shocked. I was taking a shot, high risk shot, and in a tournament you want to minimize those high risk shots as much as possible.
Right.
But we were in a practice, and there was a. I think I was taking a snapshot on a 1390 that was right about to disappear from my point of from my line of fire,
Hmm.
and I took it, I think, only halfway aimed and hit dead on as exactly where I was aiming. So
Huh.
um, awesome change. But once again, it's gonna basically boost the speed of the game and the skill of the game. You have to recognize when that's coming, and even still, when you're firing on the move or not settled, there's still going to be a level of prediction that you're going to have to know and pre-aim right at the spot. Go for the how to say it. Um,
Sweet spots.
compensate for
Oh,
bullet drop and all that stuff. So yeah, well,
yeah. So, so one question when you're looking at that, so we have the 5100 obviously being a little bit more effective with the accuracy changes. The IS3 and the 110 are obviously going to be a little bit more accurate. Do you think though that the 5100 getting so much better in accuracy is that going to detract from using things like an IS3 or 51 or or a 110, or do you think that's going to be a big boost to them still?
I think it's actually going to boost them. Well, the IS-3 especially, one of the biggest things players didn't like it for is, well, accuracy, right?
Accuracy.
They're
Yep.
so like, oh, same with the 232. Accuracy, big negatives for those tanks. And now all of a sudden you have the ability to hit these smaller autoloaders and much better, much more reliably. Not just with accuracy, but the damage numbers are going to be much more, average. You're not going to be
Uh,
rolling minimum shots.
that's true.
So.
Right.
So you see, your IS-3s, and they're a bit bouncier now.
I was hearing that. Yeah.
From our first games, IS-3 does seem a little bit bouncier. Maybe well, the normalization did get kind of adjusted, right? So
Hmm.
we're seeing a lot more bounces coming out of the IS-3. Definitely still um, the best tank in the game.
Were you seeing that mostly with heat rounds, or was that with the APCR2? I
Even
know heat got a pretty big nerf, but
Even APCR, I was bouncing some shots. Well, they were high angle shots, but before with normalization, I'd be able to take it and not worry about it. But
right.
uh, especially with the IS-3's armor layout, players that are going to be rushing, for example, just like you're saying. So it's double-edged sword. You have better accuracy, so that allows you to shoot without fully aiming. But all of a sudden, if you're an autoloader and you're taking a corner against an IS-3 and you're not aiming correctly and you're hitting the most angled shots, you're bouncing shots, so you're wasting shots, and all of a sudden your IS-3 enemy buddy is going to kill you.
Right.
So,
So that right there really puts more importance on the IS3s and that kind of that like two IS3, two 5100, one T69 setup. I mean, the big bonus for like bringing a KV5 before was having something that could absorb a lot of shots. So maybe that'll be another better reason to bring IS3s to be able to have that frontliner that can bounce more of those autoloader shots.
Right,
So yeah,
and to top it off, as you mentioned before when when we're practicing, now with and I think Friction was talking about it as well. Now that Artie is not as killer, all of a sudden, running a mix of heavier tanks and lighter tanks on some maps that you would usually not run heavier tanks
hmm
is a possibility.
yeah. Well, let's go ahead and jump on that subject now. So let's talk a little bit about artillery. We obviously got a lot of practice in it. I got a lot of play on it, and I know this is your favorite subject. Let's start out with lower tier artillery because that was obviously a pretty big staple of some of the city maps and using stuff like Bisons and Storm Panzer threes. Um, what have been your thoughts on it? I know you probably haven't played too much of them, have you?
Nope.
All right. Uh,
Well, I mean, on
Other
the
than the
test server.
yeah. So for those of you that don't know or haven't messed around with it, Bisons, Storm Panzers, basically anything that's like tier 4 and below is absolutely terrible now. There's no point in bringing them in tournaments. We did some practice with the Bison, and wow, that projectile speed, you're talking at. So if you're like on the south end of Ensk and you're shooting on the north end of Ensk, you're talking about like 4 or 5 seconds before your shot lands,
Did you just say
um,
Inksk?
or whatever map it might be.
Okay.
Whatever map. Um, I think you even made a comment because you were dead, like usual, um, and you watched the shell come in, and like you could like
No, no,
see
no,
it
no,
perfectly.
no.
Wasn't that you saying that?
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
You were dead,
whoa.
weren't you? And you said
No, it
that.
was Absolute Royal saying that he can
Oh,
see you
Royal's always
shoot
dead
and
too.
then watch the shot fly through the entire map and see it land
Yeah.
by switching the camera to the other guy. So it's
You sure you
yeah,
weren't dead?
I never die.
Okay. I was pretty sure that was it. So yeah, low tier artillery. It's kind of upsetting because I think a lot of the low tier artillery was interesting, and they brought a kind of neat dynamic where you can dig people out with lower tier stuff and not having to really sacrifice with that whole like tier 6, 7, 8 artillery. So I'm a little upset that that's gone, but it could still all be better for the game when we have um, more tank brawling. So hopefully with the way stuff's getting sped up and the accuracy and everything, maybe that'll you know keep things moving. You don't have to worry about digging people out maybe necessarily as much.
You'll be
But
surprised.
yeah,
I'm
I
sure.
was watching some ESL
Yeah. Oh
earlier.
God.
Yeah,
The things I
hopefully that
heard.
will be the effect here.
Yeah. Well, I think Artie is still going to be quite a sensitive subject for the next few months to come, because
Mhm.
the results they're going to receive are going to be a bit too drastic, and I think they did go a little too far. They went a little bit in the wrong direction. We were talking about it on TeamSpeak, I think, yesterday as well, right?
Yep.
So lower the damage and even increase the aim. I'm sorry, decrease the aim time. Make it,
hmm
uh, you know, instead of one clicking, make it you have to, 5 click a tank.
hmm
If you can 5 click a tank, damn, you're a skilled player, and it's not just a matter of luck you hitting it. It's definitely flight time. There's a little bit of skill involved in playing Artie, just a tiny bit. If you were to make that skill just a little bit expanded, so it is actually anywhere close to the level of tanking,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
then yeah,
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
perhaps relics would be good.
Maybe. Hey, I am a professional T1 driver. I'll have you know. But
Yeah.
no, I totally agree that as an artillery player, I would be much happier doing less damage. I don't need a one-click tanks, but being able to do it more often and more reliably. Because like right now, we did some more practice. We'll talk about a little bit more about higher tier artillery. We did a lot of practice in the GWP, for example, um, and really really mixed results. Unless it's like if I could prepare a shot, like I know they're going to come from this exact angle, then I could usually place a shot pretty well. Because the accuracy changes were a benefit to artillery if it's already zoomed in. Because I really do feel like my shots land more towards the center, and I can more reliably say I'm going to hit that. But when you have like a 6.5 to 8 second aim time, anytime you have to switch to another target, it's, I mean, that's 8 seconds is just way too long to be able to aim in on anything. Nothing's going to stay in the same spot for 8 seconds.
especially if you have to account for travel time as well, right?
Yep.
So it just becomes ridiculous. You waited for 8 seconds. By that time, the target is certainly moving. You have to readjust for the movement, and yeah, it's just they'll fix it. I think there'll be
Yeah.
patches that are going to be boosting already soon. I'm assuming
Yeah.
because they'll see just a huge decline. That chart is just going to nosedive into just not going to be players are not well, we're already seeing it.
Yeah.
We're already seeing nobody's playing. You'll see like one tier 10 arty, and then most of the games are without arty. So
Yeah.
and it kind of makes the game one dimensional. We spoke about it way before. Remember a couple tank talks back, we're talking about, oh, what are these changes going to do if we completely remove arty from the game becomes rather plain. You're All the tanks are riding around happily and together in an open field, and it's like,
Depending on who you're talking
already,
to, that's good.
well, it's good, but there has to be, players have to know the game mechanics of arty, and they
Mhm.
have to know where to hide from it, how to hide from it, and how to play with it. So
Yeah.
you can't just take out a complete like portion of the game.
I think it's an interesting pressure or danger mechanic that's out there. Like
Yeah,
this could happen to me. I need to make sure I'm aware of it, and I need to move smartly.
right.
Which I mean, when you're playing in tournaments, you can really tell. I mean, these people know where you're going to be probably. They know the angles you're going to have, and it makes artillery a lot harder. And it definitely adds an interesting dynamic to how people move around. But if they do any fixing to artillery, I do hope that they make it easier to hit with it, but um, a lot less damage. Because even still, I think in one of our practices, I did still one click a 1390 in the GWP, if I remember right. Actually, I think it was on juniors people too. I felt a
I
little bit
think
bad about
it's
that because
I think
juniors
it was your
already.
daydream or
Yeah,
something.
it could have been. I was daydreaming about the glory days of artillery. um, yeah, I'll try to get some more solid information on the different artilleries that I was just playing around with. I've been playing a lot of the M44, which is one, and it's actually pretty fun. It's got a really good like overall traverse area that it can hit. Um, so GWP is still pretty fun to play. It's just a lot slower, and obviously you shoot a lot less often. So we'll be definitely doing a lot more practice, seeing how artillery is going to end up working out, and deciding if we're going to still use it or not. And if we don't, then you'll see me driving around in a T1 or possibly a T2 more often.
Whoa, now.
But hey, T1 super accurate now. Crazy fun to play with that Browning.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well let's go ahead and let's move on to the other big discussion that we have is camouflage, and you've got all kinds of crazy stuff you've gone ahead and put together to make it some visual stuff for people to look at.
R-
Look at this; they're all very
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, they're awesome. And just a little bit of an introduction, and I hope Rollins is going to watch this tank talk. He PM'd me, and I'm really sorry for not replying yet. I was planning on it, but basically, way back in right before 8.6, well, 1.5 weeks ago or something, we were talking about camouflage skill on a crew, whether it's important in 8.6 or not, and the changes that are happening to camouflage right now. The spotting system has changed, as you saw in the patch notes. Average distance of engagements has increased by 20%, roughly. That could mean a lot of things, because certain maps you're still engaging quite closely because of the terrain. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be fighting at 600 plus meters, but it still means that there's no more. It's much harder to ambush a player or a tank uh, with the spotting system. The spotting system has been reworked, and I think it's a small step. Slightly in the it's a bit of a I think it's a band-aid. I think that's the best way to describe it, a band-aid
Mm-hmm.
to the current system that is going to be reworked from what I heard in 9.0. And when is that going to happen? I don't. I no clue. So let's start. So today we ran some tests, and Absolute Royal was helping me with the tests, and we're gonna look at first the what was it? 13.
1390.
Yeah, let's do 1390.
Let's bring it up here. All right. What are we looking at?
So the 1390, the what we're doing tests of is it's kind of an easier test to do. It's a static test of when is the maximum point when you're going to start disappearing. So you have been spotted, and what is the absolute furthest you can be away from your target to remain lit. You see, so
Hmm.
on the left side here we have AMX 1390, and Chaffee was spotting me with 400-meter view range. And as you can see, with the camouflage skill and Brothers in Arms, unfortunately I could not remove Brothers in Arms from the crew. So that's camouflage skill, Brothers in Arms, and no improved ventilation. And we'll actually get to what the improved ventilation and Brothers in Arms, since they're the same 5% boost. We'll get to how much that affects the spotting in the 69 here in a second. But um, with the camouflage skill, I was at 275 meters, and if I was to go 276, I would disappear. So in this case, the smaller number is better in these tests. 275 meters with camo skill. 327 without camo skill, without Brothers in Arms, just 100% crew, plain crew. 327. We'll look at the difference, but one thing to note here is, first, 1390 is a light tank, and it has a high factor, camo factor. The other thing is, the 1390, of course, retains, as a light tank, retains camo value even on the move. So light tanks, we start off with them. They're the best tanks where you will see camouflage skill taking a huge, making a huge impact on this. So let's go on to T69.
Yep.
So
Here we go.
moving on from the light tanks, we're going on to medium tanks, and here we did 3 tests, and you'll see why in a second. So on the left here, we have T69 with camouflage skill, Brothers in Arms, and improved ventilation. And here we're running a test on what does improved ventilation bring to the table. And right there to the right of it, you see the improved ventilation gone. And it gives us a total of 1 meter boost.
Uno.
So just 1 meter difference between improved ventilation and without improved ventilation. So that Brothers in Arms is exactly pretty much the same. We can say that our margin of error for these experiments was probably plus or minus, let's say, 3 meters, to be conservative.
Hmm.
So plus or minus 3 meters. So we're staying lit from 305 meters with camouflage skill and improved ventilation, 306 without improved ventilation but with camo skill and Brothers in Arms, and then 345 with 50% crew, no camouflage skill, no Brothers in Arms, no improved ventilation. So you can see that that's 40 meters that we gain with the camouflage skill and Brothers in Arms. Let's say 39 with camouflage skill, just roughly, right?
Hmm.
One thing to note, we also tested the percentage of crew, whether it affects the camo rating of the tank, and it absolutely does no difference. So whether you have a 50% crew or 100% crew, does no difference to your camo value or to the range you're going to be spotted at. Just once again, guys, to those of you watching, this the numbers we're looking at is the distance at which you're not going to disappear. Once you're lit, you're not going to disappear you will stay lit. Okay, so and um, uh, the lower number is better. So the closer you are to the enemy is the better number, right? You want to stay hidden as much as possible. So as you can see with camouflage skill, Brothers in Arms, and improved ventilation, we're able to get as close as 305 meters to our Chaffee versus 345 meters with just absolutely horrible crew. Let's go on to the next one.
The 5100.
AMX 5100, as you can probably already tell, the emphasis of our tests were on the tournament tanks, and 5100 is up next. Heavy tank. So we just went from light to medium to heavy. Hopefully you can figure out what is the next class we're gonna do. But
And
here
there'll be a pretty chart at the end that will show all the differences if that's what you're wondering right now.
the chart is awesome. But anyways, so 5100 with camouflage skill and Brothers in Arms. without improved ventilation, it's at 356 meters, staying lit at 356. Um, Without camouflage skill, without Brothers in Arms, without improved ventilation, and just 100% crew, it gets lit and stays lit from 372 meters. As you can see, that's only 16-meter difference for a heavy tank. Now, one thing to note here is every tank model does have that hidden factor, that camo value factor, and the size of the tank matters. You know, the various checkpoints for spotting matter. Um, but in general, you're going to see the same benefit numbers in terms of skills. Because it's percent based, right? You're going to see about the same benefits from the skill in the same class. So if we're going to take run a test with an IS-3, I'm expecting the same results. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to assemble the other tanks yet. We just concentrated on each specific one tank in each class. Let's go to our next tank.
ISU 152.
The ISU 152, the awesome TD right now with that BL10, it's just
It's mean.
mean, very mean, yeah. And actually quite surprising results here. So you'll see that it stays lit from 287 meters with camouflage skill Brothers in Arms, but no improved ventilation, and then down to 332 meters with just 100% crew. I was expecting a little bit of a larger margin, a larger benefit there
Hmm.
for the TDs. I thought the TDs would have a higher camo value and higher camo factor, where that percentage boost to the camo would produce better numbers. But still, quite significant spread there. Much better than a heavy tank. Let's go to our conclusion real quick.
There's the chart.
So this awesome chart was put together in like 30 seconds. If you're hating on it, please
It's so off center.
please put a one or something in chat. I'll write down all the names and we'll have a
He'll kick you
talk
every time.
after. So what I did here is we're comparing camo skill and no camo skill for each individual tank, and we um, also sorted it by delta. And delta is the change, the benefit, the change between the two values. So AMX 1390 comes out on top with the best benefit of using the camo skill on its crew, 327 meters without, 275 with, so 52 meters gained um, from the camo skill. ISU 152 comes in second, and this is where I was a little bit surprised. I thought we would see the ISU 152 pretty much being even better than the
Hmm.
1390, just simply once again because of the TDs kind of emphasize themselves on being those sneaky buggers that you have to figure out where they're shooting you from. So 45 meter delta for ISU 152. So those of you that drive TDs is still definitely 45 meters is a big deal. That's pretty much half a sector, right on the map of let's say 1,000 by 1,000. Maybe even more than a sector for smaller maps.
Hmm.
So definitely, definitely worth skill to have, especially for clan wars. For those of you guys that play clan wars, being with the fog of war and whatnot, being not spotted versus spotted is very important. But once another reminder, once again, this was a static test, so we're just sitting still. We're not moving. We're not shooting. Shooting and moving, I believe, gets it's exponential, I believe. So if you're moving, it's by a factor of two. It's cut down by a factor of two. Um, if you're shooting, another factor, which is very hard to find. There's not much data available.
If
Moving on.
if anything, this gives at least gives you a good idea on how much of an effect the crew has. And even in such a small situation, it's just different factors of it. So I think this definitely gives a good idea on the differences between tanks and having the crew on it now. And I think even just looking at the 5100, I mean, 16 meters for 100% crew, and I know you've talked about this quite a bit. Um, it kind of seems like it may not be as big of a thing on heavy tanks now to have. I mean,
Whoa, you
yeah.
can just move.
I just thought I'd go ahead and pop it back over so we're not just staring at it
I'm
the whole time. And you're like,
I'm looking at the laptop, man.
um, and I know you've talked about this quite a bit, and you're removing the camo skill from pretty much all your heavy tanks now. And
Well, yeah.
that kind of shows why. I mean, 16 meters. That's not really worth it when you can have like full repair for some of the people that have only 2 to 3
Now you
crit
messed
skills
up
and stuff.
everything, man.
How did I miss? You have to
Because I'm
you
so
have to
zoomed in,
resituation yourself that
I
much.
have to like lean to be like inside the camera
I
box.
haven't even moved you at all. You moved yourself. I didn't.
I no no. Never mind. All right, go back to the chart. Just go back to the
Just go back
chart.
to the chart. Okay, I'll bring up the chart again.
Never have your assistant being relics for PowerPoint presentations, gentlemen. T69, 345 meters without camo, 306 with camo. That's a delta of 39 meters. As you can see, medium tanks still benefit, and you know what? For my medium tanks, I will take that. I'll burn that skill slot for 40 meters. That's quite significant, of course. 69 is a bit of a bulky tank in terms of it's quite tall, right? So it's a bit harder to use bushes and other terrain to kind of hide yourself. But still, 40 meters versus 306 with 345, quite a big difference, and you can definitely feel that when in the game.
Yeah.
Uh, 5100 on the other hand, though, 372, 356, 16-meter difference, a skill better spent on something else, in my opinion. And as you have probably seen in my streams, I already don't have it on the 5100. I found it better to use, for example, on Brothers in Arms, or perhaps second perk or second skill that introduces better, I don't know, accuracy on the move, better terrain resistance. So that those skills are much more valuable. Let's now go back
Can I can I change it now? Can we see
to
you
the
normally?
to the
Are
faces.
you all prettied up? Is it
Oh yeah,
okay? It's
I'm
okay.
ready.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Oh, there you go. So I have to give you like 30 seconds preparation now every time we switch between
Yes.
slides.
Yep. All right. So
So everybody can thank Soviet for making these beautiful pictures, illustrating all this in the chart. Very well done, sir. Very well done.
thank you, thank you. It's just the beginning of tests, and I'm sure I'll try to kind of put together some better testing. Shooting, for example, is very important for us. Shooting while staying hidden.
Hmm.
One thing I can tell you already though is the view range. If the view range of the tank that you're shooting at is within your range, then I I mean this is not proven yet. We haven't tested it yet, but I almost guarantee you're going to get spotted,
Hmm.
just because of the way that the game has changed. There's no more double bushing. There's no more triple bushing even. Every bush within your 50-meter radius gets nullified, so you're down to your personal camo value, and just because the view ranges work, in order for you to shoot the tank, you have to be within right 450 meters or
Hmm.
so. So you're already within that range, and pretty much almost guaranteed that you're going to be spotted every time you shoot now, unless you're a TD shooting across the map with your laser pinpoint accuracy, not even seeing the tank. You're just shooting because you're like using the force or something to feel the tank in the distance.
Well, I can tell you, even like we were playing a lot of artillery on Prokhorovka and some of those ones where I'd usually have like 2, 3 bushes ahead of me. I'm not really worried about getting spotted at all, and I'd take one shot and spotted instantly.
Yeah,
So I, as artillery, notice a huge difference in being able to protect myself by hiding. I mean, unless I have like physical cover, it seems like it's going to be a pretty drastic issue on some maps, being
right.
able to hide yourself.
Right. And this is a good thing. I mean, in a way, it makes the game more dynamic, right? You're not going to be sitting still, shooting, pumping up an enemy without any reprise on yourself, right? So
Yeah.
you're forced to move. Autoloaders are pretty much it's a must to move now, unless you're T69, which still needs to be nerfed eventually. Um, unless you're a 69 that can dump 4 shots in like 2 seconds and run away, you're as an autoloader, as a French autoloader, and as a 1390, 5100, you have to ration those shots and then keep moving. Keep moving is the name of the game now, even for heavies, because getting cover from those TDs is going to be very important for
Yeah,
your survival rate.
I think this will have a pretty big effect on not necessarily like the top tier um, tournaments, but when you start looking at a lot of the mid tier tournaments where stuff forest camping and stuff like that. Anytime that people would use bushes with tank destroyers or whatnot, it's going to have a huge effect on those teams being able to just lock down an area without ever being seen or ever fired on. And like, there's no way you can approach us because we can just hit you, and you
Yeah.
can't see us. So I think this will be a really big benefit for those newer tournament teams getting in and not having to worry so much about that crazy forest camp team that just sits there. So
Yeah.
I think that'll be pretty big.
Yeah, yeah. Passive spots are still a possibility, though. Passive
Right.
spots, you know,
If you don't
and
fire.
it's good.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Passive scouting is definitely a good part of the game, and those of you that are light scouts out there, definitely learn how to do that because you have to have a lot of patience when you're doing it. You really have to, sit there and kind of shake in your seat because you don't know,
And it's hard.
exactly when you're gonna get lit. Yeah, it's hard. Definitely hard. It takes a lot of, you know,
When do I fire? Do I
yeah.
fire and let
When do
everybody
I
else hit
run?
them? Do I
It's
run?
like
Yeah.
it's tough. But uh yeah. So camo skill, once again, just to kind of conclude that whole subject, camo skill on the crew taken up, and this is once again, this is all of my crew members having the camo skill. So that's a lot of skill, experience going towards a skill that only gives 60 meters on the heavy tank. Not much, not very worth it. On other tanks, I would say it's situational. Depends on what and how you utilize your tank the
Hmm.
most. 1390, for example, that's a tough one. I mean, yes, we did see the most benefit out of it, but at the same time, when you're shooting, I mean, when you're in the fight, you're usually up close with a 1390.
Yep.
So yeah, there's two ways to look at it.
And the way you use it in
TDs,
tournaments, mostly you're looking at. I mean, you're usually hiding with it, not doing anything, or you're pushing with it.
right, right. So
So, yeah.
it's up to you guys, and of course, the mediums also can go either way. There's a lot of skills that can be beneficial to a medium instead of camo, but at the same time, mediums are probably the best tank in terms of they're so dynamic. They can move and they can take a shot and then disappear and all this stuff. So it's still quite important for mediums to have a camo skill.
Yeah.
So
The
that's
the
pretty
one thing on
much
light tanks to remember is that your camo skill still is in effect when you're moving too.
right.
So it
Yeah,
it could still be effective for trying to jump on stuff when you're moving around. So it'll
I'm
be
already
interesting to
a,
see how everything moves around.
I'm at the back of my room here, man, and I'm still not fitting in. Jesus.
I'll make it smaller next time. You always kept complaining that, oh, I'm never in the screen. I'm like the smallest guy. You make me like look like I'm 2 feet tall when I'm really 4 feet tall. Oh, there you go.
There we go.
That's a little better. Yeah, that's good.
There. Okay. I'm still just a little bit taller than you. Hey, hey, hey! Now, don't
I
adjust.
just have to sit up straight. That's all.
No, okay. Mm-hmm. You sit over there.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll keep an eye on 8.6, and obviously we'll be doing a lot more testing, a lot more tournament practice. So we might have some more conclusions we can give out. Talk a little bit more about accuracy or something in the future. Get some ideas on artillery. As I think right now that probably one of the biggest issues with artillery is just nobody knows how to really compensate for a lot of the stuff. So we might see the rise of it again eventually, and we'll definitely talk about that in future episodes. So I think that's it for all of our main topics. Do you have anything else you want to specifically go over with 8.6?
8.6. No. I think we pretty much covered
Good,
the few important things.
bad,
Still
general,
good.
general
Oh,
assessment,
general.
good, bad.
I think there's a few missteps in this patch, and there's a few steps in the right direction. The main thing, of course, is the whole adjustment of sigma, and average damage and accuracy improving. That's a good thing. The negative thing, well, a little early to say, but I think Artie definitely
Yeah,
is going to be reworked again.
yeah, cool. All right, let's go ahead and go into Q&A. We'll see if anybody in the chat has any questions, and then we'll end it there. So we'll aim for 15 minutes, which means we'll be here for like another 30 minutes of questions. So
Yes, come on,
15 is what we're going for.
type question quicker.
Type. Somebody thinks you have underwear behind you. Is that what I'm reading?
Underwear. What? You talking about this thing?
I don't know.
It's not underwear.
Accident just says something about a few pairs of dirty underwear, and I assume it's something talking about what's in your background. But
Oh, okay. Funny guy. Ha ha.
It's very funny. It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
hilarious. All right.
Are the bush values totally nullified, or are they just greatly reduced? Ask Nixter.
Uh, from what I read, there's no more 15-meter bush thing. The 15-meter bush trick, basically, if you remember, if you moved up away 15 meters away from the bush, it becomes opaque, and that means that when you fire, it stays um, it stays in effect, right? It stays the camel bonus, the boost from it stays in effect. That has been removed. Now, once also the camel factor that the bush provides has been reworked to a point where before what you got from 2 bushes, for example, takes 4 to 5 bushes now. And also another thing they added is the size of the bush matters. Surprise. The size of the bush matters. And
That's what she said.
the smaller
Oh.
the lower the value of your camo, the camo rating, the bigger, well, of course, the bigger. So there you go. I keep saying I'm sorry. I know I said it again on this on the tank talk here. 50-meter thing. That's not exactly accurate. So it's still everything within 50 meters gets nullified the moment you fire, and it doesn't matter whether it's in front of you, behind you. It's the radius of 15 meters. Everything around your tank, bushes, trees, fallen trees, anything, no longer provides you camo rating. And your camo rating resets as long as you're not a light tank, and then it starts building up again gradually. It's not an immediate effect like 3, 4, 5 seconds, bam. It's a gradual. You gradually disappear the further you're away the enemy is.
Cool. Um, why did they not add the sexton? Because the sexton was terrible in the patch. I wouldn't worry about it. They'll probably add it eventually, but it needs a lot of work. Do you have a site for the bush stuff at all? Someone was asking for.
Um, you can check out FTR blog,
Mm-hmm.
ftr.what-news.com. I think it's in English. They usually translate all that stuff. But my
Yeah.
sources usually come from the Russian blogs, Russian-speaking blogs. I'll see if I can find a translation of it.
Let's see. What else do we got here? I think that's what everybody was asking about. Is just the 15-meter thing.
Loki Snake, yes, it doesn't work because the moment you back up like 1 meter, it becomes opaque. So it's hard to tell whether you're 15 meters away from the bush or not. That's the thing. You see, so there's no more 15-meter trick where you're in a bush, you see a target, and you're like, oh, let me back up 15 meters, and I know exactly when that 15 meters is because the bush becomes opaque. That's no more there.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember David was talking about that quite a bit yesterday.
Right. Yep.
When he was doing
Exactly.
stuff with it. So.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll find yourself a lot of times if you're not positioned close enough to the bush, it will become opaque in your face, and you'll not be able to shoot things well as accurately as before.
Right. Um, which is gonna probably be a pretty big deal for. I think mods was the big thing he was complaining about because there's people that use some of the like bush mods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when you start getting into the tournaments, that's going to be a huge deal, being able to see through a bush and not have to worry about it at all. Um, so it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully they'll start coming out with something sooner about the whole no mods thing or removing mods specifically that break the game like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. What do you think about the mini quest on the RU server? Yeah, I remember seeing something about that. I don't think I read everything about it though. Do you
I
know
heard
though?
they're taking. Yeah, I heard they're taking it away already. Like it produced like some person over a weekend made 17 million credits or something like that.
What?
Uh, yeah, so there were little quests like if you get top damage dealer in a battle, you get X amount of I forget the exact value of credits, but you get a boost in credits. Um, and in the first weekend that it ran, some guy made 17 million credits. So they're gonna. I already saw that some developers said that they're pretty much gonna revise them. They're not gonna take them away, and that what's kind of sad about it is that was supposed to happen on the U.S. server as well, but now probably not going to happen for us,
So
which
so it's
is
kind of like a daily reward for accomplishing something,
uh,
or was it
mm,
not daily, or was it one
it's
time?
no, as far as I know, it's per battle. So if you're a top damage
Oh,
dealer in the battle, it's like a mini quest in the battle that you do. So if you're or if you do like 3,000 damage or something,
so if you're just the top damage in every battle, then you're gonna
three.
make out like a
I,
bandit.
I think 3,000 damage was the value actually. Now
Oh,
that
okay.
I'm, but anyways, it was broken. People made a lot of money,
See,
and now they're gonna make it a little bit harder as
I
far as I
I
understand.
think something like that would be interesting to have as like a daily thing, like be top damage in a game, receive X amount of damage in a game, gain steel wall in a game, and like make it a daily thing, and then people can earn it. That kind of makes like an achievement on like how you want to play in
Yeah.
games to try to earn those extra rewards. I think that'd be kind of interesting to have.
Yeah, it can serve as an incentive. At the same time, it could serve as a game rigging.
Right.
Who knows? You know.
Depending on what, yeah. But if it's not like a huge reward, if it's just something you can gain normal play if you play really good on a single match, I don't think you'll have to worry about exploiting too much on it. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they try to implement that another way. I saw a couple more questions here. Next Breed has a question. I've seen two conflicting views about crew skills. One is take Brother in Arms always and forever to increase everything. The other is to maximize things the tanks are good at, i.e., snapshot, smooth ride, etc., as the given greater benefits
Mhm.
in the particular areas. What are your thoughts on it?
I agree with the latter part. So first, you want to maximize the benefits of the tank to your use. Depends on how you use it, right? So my generally my skills are spread. I keep things kind of organized with my skills, and my first skills are usually the the sixth sense, the smooth ride, the king, off road driving, things that are very important for me in that particular tank. Then I switch over to my second skill. Usually becomes either repair while it's building up to 100%, and then once I go over to the third, then it's worth it. Once you have a three-skill crew, I think it's worth it to dump one slot for Brothers in Arms. Otherwise, I don't think it's worth it right off the get-go.
Yeah. The only
First,
exception to that I have is in artillery.
all right, well,
I
of
think as soon
course,
as you
yeah,
get a two skill crew, it's worth
yeah,
getting Brother in Arms. With the one exception of that, then takes out Sixth Sense. So it kind of depends on where you're at in it. But I would try to get Brothers in Arms and artillery pretty much as
right.
soon as possible, as long as you can maintain Sixth Sense in some way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I was about to mention it before. Like before 8.6, my training routine was, once again the sixth sense. The first, the skills, the kind of the perks that improve the tank specifically. Once I train that first to 100%, I go over to the second skill, which usually was my camo. Actually, I valued camo over repair. All the time because the camo system was something that you can take advantage of. Well, in 8.5 and before,
Mm-hmm.
um, for every tank, regardless. Even well, of course, not like a Moss or like a KV5 or something, but um, you know, anything smaller than that, anything smaller than the super heavies, you could take advantage of the camo system. Now, camo is pretty much tank dependent and class dependent for me. So it's Brothers in Arms definitely has carries a lot of value because it's kind of like putting another vents on your tank, right? And that improves all your skills all across your aim time, your accuracy, all of that gets improved, and that's very very important for your tank's performance.
Yep. We got another question here about the team. How much practice time does Fulcrum put into prep for an upcoming tourney such as WGLNA? We try to put in as much as we can. Probably 2 to 3 actual like practices with other teams, and then obviously we're trying to play together in platoons as much as we can.
It's yeah, it's funny
So
because
it varies.
that question we could have probably answered better like 2 months ago when we were not in such
Yeah.
because there you could say, okay, yeah, that was a practice. Now it's pretty much every time we're playing tanks, every time we're on and talking, it's there's the theory crafting, the tactics, discussing the various strategies, watching our replays, all that stuff goes on pretty much all the time, and can't really count the hours. But in terms of scrimmages and whatnot, yeah, like yesterday we spent the entire day pretty much
Hmm.
from like 6 o'clock in the afternoon, so 6 p.m. till probably midnight my time.
Yeah. So quite a bit. Are the super heavy spall liners worth it? We haven't done any testing with it at all yet, but it only affects, if I remember right, splash. And any tank that would have a super heavy spall liner, I probably wouldn't splash like an E100 or a Moss. So I'm not sure exactly how effective they're going to end up being. Um, I don't know. It might be effective in Clan Wars. That's about all I can think of.
Yeah, I was thinking about putting it on the E100, for example, but then I was like, well, Artie is gone,
Yeah.
so well, not gone, but it's much harder to get into a game with like 5 Artie per side, right?
Right.
If not impossible. So that alone pretty much takes away any need for that because otherwise, if there's an Artie, I'll be playing Artie safe anyway in that tank in E100. And if I end up taking one shot, it's not really worth me wasting a slot and making my tank even heavier
Hmm.
for added protection from an errant Artie shot.
Right. It only works if they miss. I mean,
So
it's
yeah,
on an E100. If you miss an E100 in artillery, even at the changes they have now, then there's some
yeah,
problems.
yeah.
That's a good point. KV5 and those other ones, I'm still not sold on them being worth it just because of the limitation on how many artillery out there. Especially when you're at tier 8, there's not a lot of artillery that has high splash radiuses, so it
Yeah,
might still that's still kind of iffy. If
yeah.
if it added to your ability to do damage with ramming or such, I could kind of see some options of that, but it's not like you're moving really fast in a KV5. And
You'd
hey,
be surprised.
that's 15 minutes, and I don't see any other questions. I think we might end when I said we're going to.
Huh.
So
Once again, guys, thanks a lot for watching us, and we are Nvidia is coming up, right? We have a
hmm
small break right now. Relics is working on some things, right?
yep. So expecting like the first or second week of July, we'll have a bunch of casts for Nvidia, which David is Nagatron's doing a whole bunch of work to make the actual video footage look really nice. So hopefully everything will turn out really good and you'll be able to enjoy those matches. I believe we're also having some kind of contest for gold and stuff in it. All kinds of stuff that's going to be going on with those Nvidia stuff. So definitely keep an eye out for these videos. I'll make sure everybody knows when they're coming out. I think Wargaming is also going to do some big announcements for it. So we have that coming up. Um, I don't think we have a lot else going on right now. So
Well, we'll probably be streaming a little bit more.
yeah.
It's been busy here. With all the things that are going on, I'm working on a little bit of a project as well, which is too early to say right now, but hopefully soon it will be public. And watch our streams, watch our YouTube channel, follow us everywhere.
Go on Facebook and like
Yeah.
us there and Twitch and all that stuff.
And WGLNA is going to be quicker than you know it. I mean, 11th of July is just around the corner. I put myself 4th of July is my cutoff date for like any type of slacking, and then it's pretty much,
It's game on.
I mean, I put Company of Heroes, like 45 minutes here, 45 minutes there on my
Oh,
calendar. But that's
I
it,
just finished downloading. It's hard.
Company of Heroes, man. Company of Heroes 2 is it's quite exciting.
Yes, yes. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on episode 12. Stay tuned next week for episode 13. I'll try to get some more information out exactly what we're going to talk about. See what topics we have.
It's all going to be about Soviet because, well, you can see it. Well, can you see it? Wait, can you see it?
Let's see. What am I looking for? The name right
Uh,
there. The Soviet name.
I can't fail at pointing.
What? You are terrible.
I can't.
What? What was that even?
Look at it. It looks retarded.
You're like all over the place.
uh,
It's you just have to point down and do. See?
yeah.
Oh look,
All
it's
right.
all about relics. He's awesome. All right, thanks everybody for joining us. That's it for this week, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Bye bye.